Good morning, Wayne. And good morning, Keyshawn Johnson.
Good morning, Skip.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. I can't complain.
And today, I say good morning to Ric Bucher, who joins us now to discuss Team USA. How are you, sir? Team USA plays.
I am well, and
yeah, go ahead.
And looking forward to another Team USA challenge from South Sudan.
All right, I hope so.
We'll see.
Okay, so they do play a little later today. And Rick, we did go back and forth yesterday here on the show, and that was after Kevin Durant did what he so spectacularly did in basically one quarter, the second quarter against Serbia, of course.
Yeah.
And with that, Kevin rose into second favorite behind LeBron for Olympic MVP. So, Rick, do you expect KD to keep this up and rise above LeBron and win his second straight Olympic MVP?
I have no reason to believe that he won't keep it up based on Kevin Durant's track record when it comes to international performance. Has shot well over 50%, shoots darn near 50% from three-point range. And look, as you mentioned, he flipped that Serbia game. LeBron James had great numbers across the board, also had 6 turnovers that weren't really highlighted through the course of that game, and untimely ones. But the fact of the matter is that Team USA was losing until Kevin Durant came into that game, and he shifted the momentum completely. So based on what they have and what KD is capable of doing, I think the numbers are going to continue to go in this direction. And yes, do I think it's going to be a battle between he and LeBron? Sure, because LeBron's probably going to average something close to a triple-double. The numbers, the box score numbers are going to look good. But KD has a role on this team that is very clearly defined, and he is perfectly built for it. And let's face it, the game came so easy to him against Serbia. I don't see any reason why it won't continue to come easy that way, no matter who they play.
Yeah, when you think about it, Rick, he didn't play, obviously, against South Sudan the first time around. And that was more of a practice game favored by whatever it was, 40, win by 1. His efficiency alone pushes him in front for me. The fact that he can play less minutes, get the type of buckets easy that he can get. And you mentioned across the board for LeBron James, yeah, across the board, his box scores are going to look tremendous. I mean, if it was NBA basketball, our faces would drop and be like, he's doing this at 40 years old. But then when you got Kevin Durant on your team with the type of efficiency that he can score with, and I don't believe LeBron will keep the box scores up because they're going to blow everybody out, in my estimate, in my mind. I understand those practice games were close, but when you think about it, the 2 games, it was South Sudan and Germany, if I'm not mistaken. Right. LeBron had to close it out in the end.
He did.
That's not going to happen again. It's just not going. We're not going to be with a minute 30 to go in the game, biting our nails, sitting on our edges of our couch, talking about, well, we could lose this game. That's not going to happen.
We're not even in the medal round? You don't?
I don't. Who they going to play?
Well,
it took an overtime for France to get away from Japan.
Yeah.
So if they were supposed to be one of our problems because they got the bigs across the board, Skip.
Okay, but Canada, Germany, and I don't know. There's going to be a close game.
Are you serious right now?
Yes, I'm extremely serious.
You can't possibly be.
I believe Rick would back me up on that.
You can double team me if you choose to do so. As I said before, those practice games sent the message to these veteran players that are on the U.S. team that they can't mess around. If you want to be compared to the 92 Dream Team, you got to run away with some of these games. You can't. And Rick, you would probably tell me much like Skip, well, the international players have certainly, that game has caught up to the U.S. You would certainly try and tell me that. It may be true in some fashion. In some fashion. It certainly hasn't shown me that in this first game that they played against Serbia. It hadn't shown me that. We won by 26.
No. You're right. Yeah, not in the first game, but it's been shown over the last 16 years. I mean, we can go back to 2008 in the Redeem team.
Yeah, but that
they
team,
had tough games once you get into the medal rounds. That's just the reality of it. And that was a team that was as star-studded as this one is. So, no, there are going to be competitive games here, and I do believe that that's one of the reasons why KD is going to have the opportunity, because over the years he's demonstrated that he can consistently deliver no matter what and do it with high efficiency. Now, some of this is being influenced because I don't know if Dwayne Wade is going to continue to be on the broadcast, but his slobbering over LeBron James may tilt the scales in LeBron's favor when it comes to MVP voting. But overall, no, I back up Skip. And Keyshawn, I've had this conversation with other, with Shady McCoy and others who believe like it's ours for the taking. We're just going to roll over. We just need to roll the ball out there. Times have changed, my friend, and there are going to be.
We are 6-0.
We have the result. We're have 6-0. Look,
we're 6-0.
That's right. And we should have lost the South Sudan game. They had an opportunity to win it with the last possession.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda, Rick.
Okay,
we didn't.
But you're saying that they're not even going to be competitive. And the reality is, if Team USA took the exhibition games, the run-up games, and that rang the bell for them, and that put them on notice, we can't mess around, then how did they fall behind 10-2 right out of the gate against Serbia?
Because
ultimately, they were better. But they didn't play like, hey, you know what? Now we have to be on our P's and Q's.
What game have they come out the gate with? We played 6 of them. I can't point to one game, as I told Skip the other day, where they come out the gate. Against Canada, oh, my God, they got Shea. Oh, my God, they got Dylan Brooks. Oh, my God. Oh, we're down 11, whatever it was. I don't know, it was so long ago. 11-1. We roll Anthony Ant-Man out there, going to clean this up for us and bring us tight. We just rolled KD off the bench as the 10th guy to check in. Man, erase that deficit for us, please. And he went and erased it, Skip. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I made the case, Rick, on Monday's show that if Kevin Durant didn't pull off the greatest scoring surge I've ever seen in Olympic history in all my years of watching the Olympics, where he scores, he goes 8 of 8 and basically scored 21 points in a quarter. I know it was a quarter and a couple of minutes, but still.
Yeah.
It's beyond imagination what he did in an Olympic basketball game that flipped it on its head. I'm not sure we would have won the game without him. If he could not have played if the calf wasn't quite ready, I'm not sure they would have won the game. That's how valuable he was, because they were down 20-14 when he first set foot on the floor as the 10th man off the bench. And then miracles occurred, except with Kevin Durant in international play, it's not a miracle, it's routine. It's what he's done his entire career internationally. So I want to go a little deeper on the stats as we go Kevin versus LeBron for MVP. So Kevin has now played 23 Olympic basketball games. It's a pretty good sample size. To Rick's point, he's made 52% of his three-point shots. That's 153 three-point shots he shot, and he's made 79 of them. It's beyond comprehension. And if I add on the FIBA games that he's played, if I add on 9 more of those, that means he's up to 32 total international games. That's a big sample size. He's made 50% of his three-point shots in 32 international games. That's 105 of 210. Well, 210 three-point shots is a lot. And to make 105, and remember, Keyshawn, as you start to comprehend, all these games have magnitude to them where you're at risk even in group play. You can't blow a group play game. We did blow one last Olympics to France, and then we righted the wrong in the medal round. But the point was that these games all count. It's not like a 7-game NBA playoff series where, okay, so you lost game 2, you can figure it back out. Sometimes you can't figure this back out, and Kevin Durant has been way better in international play than he has been in NBA playoff play, where overall in his career from 3 in NBA playoffs, he's played 170 NBA playoff games. He's 36% from 3. So 50% versus 36%. I don't know what gets into Kevin. on this stage, the international, the world stage, but he's by far the greatest player in U.S. basketball history and international play. So go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, look, I agree with you on all of that. And I believe that one of the reasons why he's so good in international play is because what he always says is, I just want a ball. I just want to play. And this allows him to simply focus in on, I have a particular role. We're not asking him to be an emotional or psychological leader. We're not asking him to do a lot of other things. We're just, KD, can you flip the game? Can you score when we need to score? And I believe in particular, in much like the NBA, the international game has become very three-point driven. And the three-point shot, if you go through all of the run-up games and the Serbia game, all of them are decided by who shoots the three better. Nobody shoots the three better in international play than Kevin Durant, which is another reason why I think he has a legitimate shot at being the MVP of this team. And Keyshawn, don't get me wrong. I believe the Team USA should win gold. I believe that they will be there at the end. I believe that these guys are motivated to, it's sort of the last dance for LeBron James and Stephen Curry. And you have the young up-and-coming guys. And maybe the biggest thing is that Steve Kerr has demonstrated that he's not worried about feelings. He's like, I'm going to play the guys that I need to play in order to win. And if that means Joel Embiid only plays 11 minutes, so be it. If Jason Tatum's not playing, so be it. I'm going to put the guys out there that I need in order to win this game. And that's why I believe the Team USA should win gold. But the thought that it's not going to be tough or that it's not going to require our best in order to do it defies what has happened over the last decade and a half, no matter who we've put out there, because one, the rest of the world has caught up, and two, the NBA has become a different game from the international game. It has become a very ISO type game, and the international game is not. So it's always a learning process for us, no matter who we put out there, every time we compete in international play.
I don't want to, as Skip would call me, Mr. USA or whatever he calls me.
I call you ugly American.
Yeah, ugly American.
You need a flag there.
I'm not an ugly American, and I understand that in our eyes, we feel as though the international game has caught up because so many international players have come over, whether they were drafted number 1 overall, Rick, or number 2 overall. They've won 3 or 4 MVPs here in the last 4 or 5 years or so. I get all of that. But when we're talking about individuals versus the game, and I understand you go to 2020 and say, well, we lost to France. Well, that team wasn't compared to the 92 Olympics. That team was not, there was no conversation about, are they better than Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Chris Mulley and company? That conversation wasn't there. This is a conversation where you got, 4 arguably of a conversation of the top 10 players in American basketball on the U.S. team? Because when I say argue, I'm talking about where they finish, right? And when their career's over, whether it's a LeBron, a Curry, or a KD, or whatever, that conversation is going to come up. That other team didn't have that conversation. So correct me if I'm wrong, Skip and Rick, do you think LeBron James and Kevin Durant are chasing something? Meaning, like, are they trying to prove that they are better than the old heads? Or do they want people to remember them as better than the Dream Team? I think they do.
Sure.
And the only way you're going to be able to do that is win by 26, win by 30. You can't win by 10 and be considered the same as the Dream Team in 92. That's just my opinion. I could be flat-ass wrong, but that's just my opinion.
No, I think that's fair, but if that was the case, and if it was a matter of, you know what, we can't just coast through these and just take wins. We've got to have dominant wins. Like, the run-up games count, as far as we're talking about that perspective. If they truly had control over it in determining just by how they're going to win, but by how much, if that was really true, then they were really motivated by that, then they should have been doing it in all of the run-up games, because the 92 team didn't have any close games.
No.
Like, they were winning everything by 20 or more.
By 40 or more.
That's where I don't believe this is fully within Team USA's control. I think there's this idea that, hey, you know what? We just don't take the rest of the world seriously. And that's when we have a close game or we potentially lose. Like, it's because we're just not giving our best. I don't think we're in that place. I believe that these guys are trying, and that it's putting our teams together. Every year we're rebuilding. We're building a new team. And it takes them time to get the same chemistry and cohesion that these international teams have, because they've been playing together since they were in their teens. And they understand the international rules and the international game and the international officials better than we do. And you add the fact that now they're NBA players, and there's no longer an intimidation factor because they play against these guys and are winning awards over these guys. So that's gone. All of the things that boosted us, that made us so dominant, a lot of those factors are gone. Now it just comes down to, can you play this international game better than we can? And so far, Team USA has. But I don't think it's by any accident that it hasn't been by much.
We won by 26, Rick. By much.
The first group play game, we should have lost to South Sudan. Germany came down to the final possessions. And by the way, Germany's not going to show you their hand at the end in terms of how they would defend. They let LeBron James go one-on-one. Hey, they know it's a run-up game. We may have another design. We have another idea when we get to that.
You certainly been talking to Skip too much.
They're not going to show that in a run-up game.
You've been talking to Skip too much, because that's what Skip tried to say.
Skip and I are just seeing the same things. We don't have to talk.
You're wrong,
it's telepathic.
Y'all wrong. Skip tried to sell me. He tried to sell me and Paul on the same thing. Well, they're playing possum. They're laying in the weeds. Don't get fooled by Serbia. They got Bogdanovic. He didn't play in the game. Don't be fooled by Joker. Joker knows the NBA.
Wait a second, Keyshawn. Did you predict that Kevin Durant would come off the bench and score 21 in basically a quarter?
No,
if you had predicted that.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I did not predict that, nor will I lie to you, but we said he would play.
Okay.
And if he played, it's certainly going to tip the scale.
Okay. But even Paul said if he plays, he's got to start. And he comes in with 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Okay. Here's why this was so shocking to me, and I'm going to go back to Rick's knowledge of the NBA, because nobody knows the NBA any better than Ric Bucher does.
I know the NBA. Rick doesn't know.
You know it fairly well. Okay. Think about Kevin Durant. In his last 20 NBA playoff games, his teams are 6-14 because he hasn't been great in any of these series. There have been circumstances in Brooklyn, but remember, Boston swept Brooklyn in Kevin's last playoff series there. And he shot 23% from three in the four-game sweep. Then the next year, they were eliminated in the second round by Denver in 6 games. He shot 22% from three. Then last year, they were swept by Minnesota. So my point is 6-14. I haven't seen these kind of flashes from Kevin in the playoffs since that fateful toe-on-the-line game, Brooklyn against Milwaukee, Game 7 at Brooklyn. That was kind of the end of Kevin as an all-time great playoff player. That's the last time I saw him be great. And they obviously, if his toe's not on the line, they win the game, but they lost it in overtime. And that was it, basically, for Kevin Durant. So, Rick, put in perspective how shocking it is, Kevin's international play versus his recent NBA playoff performance.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot, Skip, of Carmelo Anthony, who is very similar.
Yeah, he is. That's a good one.
Internationally, always just a different player. You look at it and go, how come we don't see this Carmelo Anthony on a consistent basis in the NBA? And I do believe some of it is the fact that they have the ability. They're not asked to do more than they're capable of. They're put in their sweet spot with these teams. The teams are talented enough that you have the leadership, you have the playmaking, and you just allow them to do what they do best. And when they can focus in on that, that's when you see them go supernova, which is what Kevin Durant did and what I would expect him to continue to do. But I mean, the advantage that Team USA had against Serbia was that you're coming off the bench with Kevin Durant, who makes his first 8 shots
I mean, it's
and
ridiculous.
from everywhere and with ease.
Yeah.
Like, do other teams have that? No, they do not.
No.
But can you expect, while I think that KD will continue to play well, I'm not expecting him to go 8 for 9 every game. And if he doesn't, how does that affect the rest of that team? Because this was the thing for all the Team USA, for all the great players that they have, KD coming in with them once again behind and a little bit wobbly and doing what he did infused a confidence in everybody. Suddenly Anthony Edwards is playing at a different level. Devin Booker is coming in and he's got his fire lit. Like, he had an impact on everybody. And as a result of that, it ended up being a blowout. But I do not expect that this is going to be the pattern going forward for every single game, particularly when we get to the medal round and the pressure is completely different because it's March Madness.
Okay.
It's one and done.
All right.
And if they have a bad shooting time, then things get a little tight.
All right, Rick and Key, let's go back to the question, the MVP question with LeBron. Keyshawn has laughed at me and scoffed at me about this, but I believe LeBron is on a new mission because he smells a cherry to be picked here to go lead Team USA to a gold so that he can say, I have 3 to Jordan's 2, and I got an MVP to my credit. I got all these longevity awards to my credit, and I'm the GOAT. He's trying to strengthen his GOAT argument here at the Olympics, which is why I'm certainly not writing him off to win MVP, because he's got the ball in his hands for the most part, and I think he will do everything in his power to make himself the MVP. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that is the motivation. I believe another motivation is that he looks at where the Lakers are right now and what they're going to be going forward.
Yes.
And if he performs the way he did.
You can't win anything there?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's, hey, if he performs as well as he did against Serbia, then when it comes to the Lakers and it comes to this season and they're disappointing, we won't be looking at LeBron James as, well, LeBron James just doesn't have it anymore, or he's fallen off, or whatever. It will be, well, LeBron demonstrated in the Olympics that he's still one of the best players that puts on a U.S. uniform. It's not his fault that the Lakers are not going to answer Keyshawn's most fervent dreams when it comes to this season.
Do me a favor, Rick. Stop talking to Skip.
Yes.
Just stop. LeBron James is 4 Olympics. Michael Jordan played 2. LeBron James is not sitting around saying, well, I'm up on Michael. I need to get the MVP because of Michael. I need to win the gold because I'll have 4 golds to Michael's 2.
No,
like
3 to 2.
Or 3 to 2.
He lost one.
Yeah, I'll have
Jordan
Michael's
never
3.
lost. Well,
3 to 2, whatever it is.
There's a
He's
chalkboard.
not thinking
There's
about
a chalkboard in LeBron James's house that is keeping score on everything that Jordan has done and everything that he has done.
Y'all are unbelievable, man.
So you have just watched a segment in which Rick and I have educated Keyshawn on all things basketball, especially international basketball. Okay, in a moment, we will talk about, we'll stay right here, will mighty South Sudan be beaten by more than 30 points today by Team Gold?
Somebody on this set thinks they will.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.